Well, hello and welcome. My name is James MacNeil. This is our first ever episode of James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday. Love is the answer. What's the question? So today for our very first show, just starting with something simple, we're beginning with, did Satan win a Grammy? Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock or simply had better things to do, you might not know that at the recent Grammys last weekend, we're talking about the Grammys, 2023, the 65th Grammys, February 10th, Sam Smith and Kim Petras delivered a devilishly provocative performance. I'm quoting the Grammy website. Devilishly provocative performance at the Grammys. The song Unholy was performed while Sam Smith was wearing a top hat with devilly horns, and there were provocative scantily clad dancers in capes, apparently trying to look like demons. And Kim was in a cage, and it had flames in the background, all very devilish. And it's caused quite an uproar, quite a stir. And we're going to talk about that. The goal of this show is to view today's hot topics from the spiritual eyes of love. So my intention is to source out information and insights from all faith groups, right? Every religion, every spiritual tradition, and find the loving perspective on whatever's hot, whatever's going on. Beautiful. So again, today's topic is, did Satan win a Grammy? And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Here's what I'd like you to do. Now, we're new at this with the YouTube channel, so I'm going to ask you to help us out. If you would like to participate, and I would love it if you did, tell us hot topics you'd like us to talk about. Give me your opinions, disagree with me, call me names, call me wonderful. And you feel free to participate in the chat. So please like, love, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those cool things, and let us know what you think, because what you think matters. We're going to continue to roll out these shows. Our intention is to do this every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time, live on YouTube, live. That's the intent. And so the more we get from you, the better the show. Beautiful. There we go. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to, first of all, understand what is the outrage. So we're going to start with that. Well, there was two major outrage comments I kept hearing about and seeing. Number one, the comment coming from the Christian conservative religious right. And when I say that, it's not exclusively accurate. It's a generalization of the people group who are doing the screaming. Good. Now, the people who are doing the screaming seem to be saying these two things. Number one, at the Grammys, this performance was a full-on satanic ritual performed in front of our very eyes. This is a complete and full and real satanic ritual performed at the Grammys. That was argument number one. Argument number two, unbelievable, says the conservative Christian right. The Grammys, pop culture, pop music has finally admitted the truth. What has always been the truth, always will be the truth, is that the Grammys and pop music are only and always satanic. Always have been, always will be. That's the issue. They finally admitted it. So those are the two comments coming out from the extreme religious right. Now, of course, there's a ton of things being said by a ton of people. I'm merely articulating the extreme that's getting the headlines. Cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to just take a peek at these two. Was it a full-on satanic ritual? Number one. And number two, we're going to look at what is Satanism? How does that relate to other spiritual traditions? Is it a spiritual tradition? Is it the worship of Satan and all that kind of stuff? And we're going to see if we can find a loving perspective on this topic that has been stimulated into the media by heated individuals. And in fact, there's three people groups. You might want to write this down. You've got the what I'm calling the conservative religious right. You've got the liberal artistic left, if you will, the pop culture, and then you've got the media. And we have three players in this game. We're going to take a look at dissecting and learning from this and seeing if we can't find a healthy perspective. First, is it a satanic ritual? Well, I bet that the music at a satanic ritual isn't as good. I thought it was a great performance, great music. You got the flames in the background. I bet if there is a Church of Satan, look at it. It's like, hey, we got some good ideas. Let's have some flames in the background. I really like what they did with this. I don't think this was a satanic ritual. I don't think it's anything close to a satanic ritual. It's a musical performance. Now, I'm a bit older than most of you, probably, and I lived through the 70s. I was born in 65. And in the late 70s, we had all these like satanic rock bands doing all these satanic rituals in their performances. And I was a young man, somewhere around 15, a little less, a little more. And it was scary. And we were seeing all these things. And then you get into the 80s, you've got Madonna, who in a music video appears to be having sex with a Black Catholic priest just to be provocative. And so the use of provocative imagery, the use of provocative words and so on in pop music is normal. So this is not shockingly new, and it's not a satanic ritual. So let's just change it up. Now, the song is called Unholy. The song is about a married man who leaves his wife and kids at home to go have sex with his sugar baby. Now, I say sugar baby, and that doesn't show up in the song, but it kind of says sugar baby because it's one woman and she knows him and he knows her, and he buys her tons of expensive designer things, and that's their quid pro quo. That's their exchange. So it's called Unholy, which would suggest that the lyrics are not endorsing it. They're not saying, yay, you. They're saying that's unholy. You've abandoned your wife and child. And if they knew you'd be in trouble, you're doing things that are unholy. So in a sense, the lyrics of the song could be seen as a conservative Christian message about a man who's cheating on his wife. Now, it's not, of course. They're going, ooh, aren't you naughty, right? Like it's more of a, it's not a full-on you're wrong, but the lyrics are leaning towards what could be seen as judgment against this man fooling around on his wife. So the lyrics, they could have done a performance either way. They could have gone the heaven or the hell tour. So they went the Satan route, but they could have gone the Pope route. Could you imagine if they did this song and Sam Smith was performing with a Pope hat and the sexy, nearly naked dancers are like stripper nuns? Would that be less offensive? That would be more offensive. And it wouldn't be called a full-on Catholic ritual. Just because he's wearing a Pope hat doesn't mean it's a full-on Catholic ritual any more than it's a full-on satanic ritual. It's an artistic performance. And we, as a society, may grow more familiar with the fact that comedians say offensive things. That's their job. Artists do provocative things. That's their job. Now, you might say there's lines in the sand. Fine, let's talk about lines in the sand. But this is not a satanic ritual. I virtually guarantee it. I have not studied the Church of Satan in depth. I have not gone to a satanic ritual, but I bet those rituals are not as fun as that performance at the Grammys. That was music and dancing and song and performance. There you go. The only thing sad about it, if you ask me, was I thought Sam Smith's voice was a little off. I thought he was missing. I don't know about you, but I didn't see it live, but I watched a recording on YouTube, right? And when I watched it, I'm like, ooh, he's got like a godly voice, a beautiful voice. Sam Smith has a beautiful voice. And in that performance, I thought it was a little off. I'm like, ooh, that was sad. Everything else, it's performance. That's my opinion. Point number one, this was not a satanic ritual performed in front of the eyes of children all over the world. It just wasn't. It was a music performance. Good. Now let's get on to the bigger point. What is it to be satanic? So the poster boy, the grandfather of modern day Satanism, is a gentleman by the name of Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley is a very unique individual. And when I read stuff about Aleister Crowley, I am very uncomfortable. This man's story, his history, his writings, everything about this guy makes me uncomfortable. He and I probably would not have hung out, right? But I can love the guy, but ooh, we're not on the same page. Aleister Crowley was born in 1875, passed away in 1947, and he is the grandfather of modern Satanism. Now, in his perspective, in his writings, he did not say that Satanism is the worship of Satan. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the story of Satan is a Abrahamic storyline, which means it's based in the Jewish tradition. And Judaism spends very little time talking about Satan. Christianity seems to be very excited about Satan. Almost all the videos I see on YouTube or in, Instagram, every Christian teacher, they seem to be more interested in Satan than Jesus. So the Christianity seems to be very excited about Satan. The Church of Satan isn't as interested in Satan. They said it's more about the philosophy of Satan. And so when summarizing the essence of the Church of Satan or Satanism, here it is, write this down: do what thou wilt. Do whatever you want. You are free. It is the philosophy of you're not the boss of me. That's what Satanism is. You can't make me. You can't tell me. I'm the boss of me. Do what thou wilt. is the central idea of Satanism. There you go. Bang. From the grandfather of Satanism, the grandfather of modern Satanism, the guy who knew more about this and wrote the books and gave birth to the next books, that guy said the whole thing about Satanism is do what thou wilt. Now, here's an interesting thing. He stole the line. Now, he stole the line from a Christian theologian who is Augustine, Saint Augustine of Hippo. And yes, there's a man named Augustine taking my photograph right now, but it's spelled slightly different. Saint Augustine of Hippo, he was a forerunner to Aleister Crowley. And St. Augustine, he was born in 354, passed away in 430. And he summarized the Christian gospel, and Aleister Crowley stole it and used it, which is very common. His essence, he said, the entire gospel is summarized in this. Write this down. The entire gospel, the entire Christian story, the entire story of Jesus, the whole message comes down to this. The gospel, meaning the good news, is this: love and do what thou wilt. One word difference. Love and do what thou wilt. Satanism says, leave off the love, do what thou wilt. And when presented with this really startled my son, Andrew. Now, Andrew is one of those free spirits. He lives by live and let live. That's his philosophy. Live and let live. You know what I mean? Do your thing, let them do their thing. It's all good. And yet when people are unloving, when it's unloving, he has an aversion to that. So when faced with the true essence, and he watched a Ben Shapiro video that helped him understand this truth between the distinction of love and do what thou wilt and just do what thou wilt, Andrew said, I see the gap. I see the fault. I see the flaw. I see the distinction. See, my son, Andrew, he grew up in a loving environment thanks to his loving mother and father. Yes, I'm trying to take a lot of credit here, but I'm a proud daddy. And so he is a love ethic guy. So he cares about animals. He saves animals. He cares about cats and dogs. He cares about people. He cares. He's coming from love. And so when he says, live and let live, or do what thou wilt, it's coming from an essence, an ethos, a core ideology of love. So his ideology of do what thou wilt presumes love. And his thought was, pop culture could benefit from this awareness that when you extract love from free will, it may not be beautiful, it may not be loving, it may not be other-centered. So, are we tracking? So first of all, that was not a satanic ritual. What Sam Smith and Ken Petras performed at the Grammys was music. It was art. They could have done it in Pope and stripper nun costumes. That would have been more offensive. They did it in Satan and demon costumes, which was whatever. It's art. And you can be offended if you want. That's called free will. But when it comes to, is it satanic? Let's understand that Satanism, the core idea is do what thou wilt. Christianity, which is, these are the two people talking about this conversation. Christianity at its very core, according to one of the most respected theologians, is love and do what thou wilt. I remember when I first became a Christian, and I'm a fully committed, born again Christian. I'm more focused on love than judgment. So I'm a Bible believing, a full on Christian guy. And I just study all the world religions. I love everyone. My spiritual community has everyone in it. But for me, when I first became a Christian around the age of 20, I remember the pastor said, people say, that's right, he was Southern Baptist, and he used to call me Jam. He said, Jam, being a Christian some might say it means you can't do what you want to. He said, but you can do what you want to, because if you give your life to Jesus, Jesus will change your want tos. And so he said, you're still free, but now you're infused with love. So that freedom is going to flow from a love ethic. It's not going to be harmful, not going to be hurtful, not going to be selfish. It might be selfless, but it is free nonetheless. And so the question is, who's free? Who's living free here in this conversation? I'm not sure that a lot of the players in this game are actually doing what they will, whether from love or not. So let's try and bring this together. So it's possible that this performance was unloving. You follow that? So the performance was provocative. No one in the production team, no one in Sam Smith's team, Sam Smith, Samuel Frederick Smith, and Ken Petras both would have said, they're going to be mad at us. We're going to offend a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be pissed off. We're going to get hell for this hellish performance. Yeah, let's do it. So it's not like they didn't know they're going to offend. They're intelligent individuals. These are intelligent people. They knew they were going to offend. but they're playing to the other player. And please remember this, they're playing to the media. Now, the media has one rule. The only sin in the media is being boring. You can curse, you can go naked, you can smack someone in the mouth. But if you are boring, you're out for the media. But everything else is possible. And so it is reasonable to assume that Sam Smith and team knew that some people would be hurt, some people would be offended, some people would be unhappy. It would, whatever, cause some ruffles. And they said, eh. And so that may or may not be loving. There's a point of question. Now, it's also possible, by the way, that Sam Smith feels hurt, judged, rejected by the people who would be offended by the performance, and that may have added to his, they hate me, so whatever. So there could be some negative energy. I'm not judging. What do I know? I think Sam Smith is absolutely 100% adorable. I love Sam Smith. I'll go on record saying so. And if I could get near the dude, I just said dude. He identifies as non-binary, which means not limited to masculine or feminine, male or female. So I, in loving respect, I am being asked not to use masculine pronoun of he, and I make the error and I do that. I find myself struggling with the grammatical use of they when I'm referring to an individual. So I seek to be loving and authentic. So let's try it again. If I was to meet Sam Smith, I would love them. I would hug them. I would have a very positive. For my part, I got no beef. And I'm okay with the idea that Sam Smith may have been insensitive to the impact. And I'm not his mother or his priest. There. But do know this, the use of the media, the abuse of the media is actually the tool for popularity. And Sam Smith is seeking to sell his new album. And so that was a good move. It was smart in business. We're talking about him. I'm talking about him. The media is talking about him. People are talking about him. In churches all over America today, they're talking about him. And so they are getting publicity, which was, of course, the idea. And if you think it's only something that the liberal left might do, let's remember Donald Trump got elected by saying outrageous things like all Mexicans are rapists. And you're like, he didn't. Yeah, he did. He said things while running for office that were so outrageous, no one saw him as a threat. And the media saw him as $1 million ticket. So every comedian fell in love with Donald Trump, no matter how much they hated them. Every media source loved Donald Trump, no matter how much they hated him. Why? Because he was making the money, because he was outrageous. So just like Donald Trump used the media by being provocative, so did Sam Smith use the media by being provocative. So we've got the three players, the left, the right, and the media. Now we have three players in this game. Everyone following? So this is a summary of assessing what's going on from a non-judgment and loving perspective. Beautiful. Now, my question is, where's the love? Where's the love? Who is experiencing and exuding love in this story? And in the three extremes I'm referring to, I believe more love could be. You could salt in a little bit of love in here, right? You could shake a little bit love onto the story. When it comes to the extremes of the left and the right, I'm not sure that either group are experiencing the freedom promised in those two summaries of faith. So the Satan summary of faith is do what thou wilt. The Christian summary of faith is love and do what thou wilt. And I don't see a lot of doing what thou wilt. I see a lot of binding, a lot of fear, a lot of control, a lot of attempt to control myself and others, instead of the freedom in Christ, which the Bible promises, or the freedom from religious constructs, which is also promised. I see a lot of people not enjoying freedom. So that's one thing that I would love to see, is a lot of people being more free. And then for me, judgment is not my job. In the Bible, it says anger is sin. So for me to be angry about this is me sinning. So I personally embrace the idea of non-judgmentalism. It doesn't mean lack of wisdom. It doesn't mean lack of creating parameters for how I want my life or how I want to impact society. But for me to just point the finger, that is not the Christian ethos. The Christian ethos is love. And let me just say to my fellow believers, you might be furious with me right now, but I seek to be of service here. Let me say this, that when I was studying Christian theology, one of the things I was reminded of is no one is our enemy. They can only be victims of the enemy. So if you believe that there is a fallen angel named Satan, and that fallen angel of Satan, leading the rebellion, has demons on his team and all of that stuff, then the humans are victims of that team, never the enemy. So no human being can be the enemy of someone who's walking forward in the love of Christ. We can be sad and embrace people, but to judge, reject, and ostracize, that's not cool. Some people say, well, Jesus was angry. The only time Jesus manifested anger, when you see that, is in the face of people who are judging sinners, who are rejecting people, who are keeping them away from the loving relationship with God. The only people Jesus had beef with were the Pharisees, the people who were scaring people away from God. He says, don't scare away my children. Don't scare away my family. And so for those who scare and judge and are religious and legalist, those are the only people that appeared in the crosshairs of Jesus. Jesus was called a friend of sinners. He hung out with the prostitutes and the sinners and the tax collectors, everyone who was offensive in that society. Those were his pals. In fact, if Jesus was today, he may have showed up at the after party hanging out with Sam Smith and the gang. Why? Because Jesus loves. And that is the message from divine love. So whether your faith is Buddhism or Hinduism or Sikhism or Christianity or, Buddhist, Baptist, Brethren, Catholic, you name it. Our job is love. Our job is love. And to teach those who are interested to have an answer for the faith that we have in ourselves, not to judge, but to love. And so this is a powerful message I hope can be received by you. I personally love Sam Smith. I love everybody on the left, love everyone on the right. Not everyone loves me, but I will say this, that when the left loses sight of love, it changes. And so if the left, those people prioritizing the freedom from the restraints of the religious right, when you seek freedom from the restraints of bureaucracy or legalism or religion, that's perfectly fine and cool according to the Bible. That's what I'm sharing here. However, when love is lost, you're moving into another camp. And so if it's a religious right person being unloving, whether it's a freedom-seeking, I'll say liberal left, if that's an okay term, if you lose love, you've lost something precious. So my strong encouragement for one and all is that we can love and do what thou wilt. Love and do what thou wilt. When it comes from love, you don't have to overthink it. Just come from love. Today, I haven't scripted myself perfectly, but I do know I'm coming from love, and I seek to speak truth in love. I do my homework. I do my best. I'm coming from love. I will be judged because that happens, but I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm going to do my best, and that is what I pray, hope, and trust for you. Now, the last point I have is, I'm not sure it was the horny cap that made everyone upset. I'm not sure that it was the flames in the background. I'm not sure if it was the seductive dancers. I'm not sure it was the reference to the devil. I'm not sure if that's what offended everyone. Sam Smith identifies as non-binary, which means not male, not female. Kim Petras, the other vocalist in the song, very talented vocalist, is a transgender woman. I'm not sure if the offense was the costumes or the people wearing them. I'm not sure if this wasn't a strong reaction to the people putting on the performance as much as the performance. And so next week, strap on your seatbelts. Next week's topic for James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday, where love is the answer. What's the question? The question next week is God transgender? Strap on your seatbelt. Feel free to put your comments and questions and strong suggestions for my safety into the chat. Please do like, love, comment, share, hit that bell, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's see if we can't bring love into the modern day conversations and questions affecting our lives, our societies, our families, our finances, our cultures, our communities. It's important. What does love have to say about it? This is James MacNeil. Thank you so much for joining me for our first ever episode of James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday with great love. I hope this has been of service to you. I hope this has been encouraging. I hope I was able to shine some loving light on the conversation for you. Love, joy, and peace. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday for James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday, where love is the answer. What's the question? Next week's question is God transgender? Wish me luck. Say some prayers. Love, joy, peace. Have a beautiful, blessed day and a beautiful, blessed